Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome back. So moving on to the third session for the day, we have Vadodara chapter hosting this session, and it is on remote work culture and virtual conflicts. The session is moderated by Shweta Kelkar, and our panelists for today, Shweta, Amol, Saurabh, and Sandeep. So before commencing this session, we are very thankful to our founding sponsor, Innovation Roots, which is a leading training and consulting service provider, helping organizations to achieve business agility and beyond. It is also one of the leaders and pioneers of niche publishing services and is well known for content collaboration with global thought leaders, authors, and creators. We are also very grateful for Gile sponsoring us, which is a product offering from Tata Consultancy Services. It is a purely cloud-based enterprise agile planning tool along with DevOps capabilities. Enterprises can use Gile to adopt agile practices or scale across multiple Scrum and Kanban teams using enterprise scaling frameworks such as SAFe, Disciplined Agile, Less and More. You can also try out the Gile for free for up to 20 users for 1 year by signing up at gile.io. Or you can also reach out to us for any inquiries and any exclusive product demo. Check out the Gile page on the Agile Network India website for more information. Moving ahead with our panelists' introduction, I would request all the panelists to come on screen and briefly introduce yourself to our attendees.
Thank you, Shreya. Hi all, myself Shweta Kelkar. I've done Masters in Business Administration, carries 15 plus years of experience working in various domains in IT industry. As a business analyst, solution consultant, sometimes solution architect, project manager, all these years. And right now working as a product owner with Helios Solutions. I would like to say myself as an inspiring transformation agilist, practicing Agile for like almost 8+ years now, and extensive experience in ideation to market and product development. Thank you. Shreya, can we move on to next one?
Okay, let's move on to Saurabh. Saurabh, can you briefly introduce yourself?
Hello.
Yeah, Saurabh.
Am I audible? Yeah. So hi everyone. This is Saurabh here. I've graduated BEIT from Gujarat University in 2008. After that, since 13 years of experience, I'm having in ASP.NET and other technologies. Most of I have experience in finance, healthcare, and workforce management domains. I'm practicing Agile since 8 years, and I was very inspired by many of the Agile thought process by 4 years. Also certified Scrum Master since 2017, and I'm in touch with Agile Network Group since 1 year. I'm having so many thoughtful events. I'm getting so much knowledge from these events, and it is very useful to all of us. So yeah, overall, right now working with workforce logic companies and technical architects. Yeah, thank you. That's me. Next slide, please.
Thank you, Saurabh. Request Sandeep to briefly introduce yourself.
Thanks, Shreya. So good afternoon, everyone. Myself, Sandeep Shah, and I'm graduated from BBM College in computers field. Then I started working with the Eclipsys Allscripts company for last 13+ years. Currently, I'm working as a senior project manager there, working for a product which is a healthcare product being used by around 5,000+ clients across the globe. And I mentioned a couple of my strengths here, which is through the Strength Finder assessment, which I did. And my personality type is ISTJ. In short, I'm a logician who goes by data and builds opinion based on data. So that's it. I'm looking forward to the session. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sandeep. And we have Amol as well, but I believe due to some technical glitches, he's not able to join us. Hopefully he'll join us shortly. So Shweta, we can proceed with our panel discussion.
Yes, sure. So hi all, once again, I would like to welcome you on this discussion. The topic which we have chose for this discussion is a remote work culture and virtual conflicts. So due to this pandemic situation from last almost a year, we all have been working to our homes, it's like now work from anywhere. So everyone is working remotely, and working remote actually is, it's good for employers as well as for employee when we look for an extension of global acceptance. And but at the same, it's life is not always rosy, right? So we find lots of conflicts happening in our this current situation. So I would just like to initiate the discussion with the first set of questions. And sort of, but if you would take up this question and put your review on this, or insights on this. So typical scenario wherein you are not in the flow of in office traffic, and you're going to miss some impromptu lunches, coffees, or spontaneous desk side brainstorms. So it can occasionally feel like you are not getting the full picture, or like you are the last to find out about things. So my question to you is, do you think a lot of conflicts arises due to lack of information from the management?
Uh, yeah, thanks, Shweta. It's a very important question. While we are working offline, we can say, while we are working remotely since this pandemic issue, we have faced many of problems related to conflicts, right? Virtual conflicts. So I'd just like to discuss first what are the exit problems, right? So I would say that, like you said, like you explained in your question, that there are so many informal discussions are now not going to happen, right? Because when you are in office, you are together with your team, your team is around you, you are having on table discussion, you are having meeting room, you are having tea time, coffee time, smoke time, and lunch time or dinner time discussions, right? So the team members are your friends, right? And you are not having that much formal but informal conversation, and that is always important. Why? Because it builds up your confidence, it builds up your team bonding, and you are already gel up with your product. So so it's like when you are working offline, means when you are working remotely, you are missing all these types of conversation, you know so we can say that your communication is now getting fragmented. Whenever the question is getting asked, sometimes by your manager or by your team member, maybe there is a chance that you are not available at that time, you're not there on your desk. Or sometimes, when you are having a lunch at different time, and other one is having lunch or tea break at different time. So maybe at that 15-20 minutes or half an hour, you're not available. So the other guy is not getting his response at that time. So he's getting frustrated, he is waiting for the quick answer. In some case, something is emergency at a production environment, and your manager or supervisor is waiting for your response, just yes or no type of response, but still he is not getting. So he is getting frustrated. That is impact on your performance. How? Once me and my team member like Amol or Sandeep, we are working together in one project, we both are developers, right? And we have a user story which is totally dependent on each other. So now when Sandeep is working in something and he needs some answer, right? So which is depending on me, that the work he is doing is depending on me. So once he pinged me and I'm not available, 5 times, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, I'm not available. So what happens? Like, he's getting frustrated. His link is getting broken, right? Because he's into the link, but some particular task, and that link is getting broken. So that impacts on his performance, his productivity is getting decreased. So he feels sometimes isolated, that why I'm not getting answers when am I needed. So these are the many problems when we are working, are arise when we are working virtually. that one at one stage of time, when we look, when we see into the longer run, at one stage of time, it impacts on your motivation too. Because whenever you are working with some creativity in your product and this situation happens, so you feel like you just want to complete your work at a time, and your creativity gets vanished in some time. So your motivation is getting impacted, and in a long run, it impacts to your company's productivity. Your ROI is getting impacted. It's a long run event. So those are the many problems. I can explain more problems even, but let's come to the solution, that how we can overcome this type of situation. So from my end, I have totally divided this entire problem into three steps. One is from the manager perspective, as a manager or supervisor, or product owner, you can say scrum master. Whenever I'm in any of this role, what should I do? So I should be clear with my requirements. It's not applicable to scrum master, but manager, or business analyst, or product owner, or any of the supervisor who is dealing with the requirements to the team. So I should be clear with my requirements. Whenever it is needed, I should communicate to my team. I have many of the communication channels. Like every company has their communication channels, like Slack or Skype or Skype for Business, anything like. There are many other tools. So we should be in communicate with our team. We should always monitor our process. Like as a manager, I should monitor the process, that my team is following the process or not. I should not, you know, pinpoint them. I should not ask them regularly. I can see that in my board. We have various tools and technologies available, so we don't need to reach out to them and ask them whether you have finished this job or not, whether you are facing any difficulty or not. Just trust on them. They are doing their right job. Just trust on them. They will ask you the question whenever it is needed. You need to be you need to be clear with the points that you have to discuss to your team. Okay. Track the productivities. We have tools. We have a sprint board, where there are many other tools, like we have Jira, we have ADO, we have a Microsoft Team system. So those tools are giving information to you. Doing with your team, you just have to come up with the daily discussions, daily scrum meetups, or in agile we are having that daily stand-up meetings. So those meetings are very important at this time. you know Disputes can be avoided by setting availability. When means you have to set your availability at the time whenever your team is needed. Okay. Then you have to do the strong communication with the employee. You have to enough confident build your enough confidence that your team is getting understand. They are getting all the information that you actually wants to transfer them. So these are the very important things when you being a manager, you have to take care. Now, what are the advice for the individual? Second thing, as an individual employee, what should I do? Right? Being a part of my team member, I would be always accessible to the team. Whenever I'm not accessible, just inform to my team that, or during this particular tough time, I'm not available. I'm having the lunch break or dinner break, or maybe some other breaks. I'm not available. So they will come to know that this person is not here. So whenever I ping him, I don't actually don't I should not ping him in this duration, because I'll not find him. Otherwise, he will be there. So they will be in confident that my team member is always there. Whenever he is not there, he or she is not there, they will inform us, right? So be available always, and means be available, or if you're not available, just let your team know. That is the first thing that I should do. Okay. Second thing is, ask the question as many as you have. Do not assume anything. Don't make any type of assumption. You have any question, ask them, because when you are in team, when you are in office, you will ask the question whenever you are working. At the time you will simply ask the question within your team, you will get the answer. But over here, you are working remotely, you are alone at your home. So whenever you have any question, at the straight away you should ask. If you have any question at the time of your working, then ask your team. Don't hesitate. ask to your manager whenever it is required. If he is not available, he is working in the different time zone, then simply send an email, or maybe you can send the offline chat. Whenever he is available, he'll send you the reply. So avoid assumption. That is the very big thing, because when you communicate individual, that means bonding within two employees, and that gives you the confidence that whatever requirement you are working, you are actually understanding it. You will see the longer picture of the thing that you are working in. So that will helps you to uh, understand the entire picture, and you can also at one stage of time you can also provide your inputs in that. So that inputs will be very helpful, because your creativity is getting increased, and you will also come to know that whether your inputs are important or not. So these are the very small things that you should take care, and it will give you a very good impact at longer run. So avoid assumption, then take ownership. Like whenever you are working with any of the module, just take ownership of it, and you take care of everything about it. Like from getting requirements to getting delivery, means giving delivery, all of the things that you are taking. So it will also help you to build your confidence, and your team member will get trust on you. Always be open for help. Like whenever your team requires you, you will be available. Like I said, whenever you're not available, just said that I'm not available at this time. Otherwise, whenever you need my requirement, you need my help, I'm there. So these are the things that I should do as an individual. Third point is, as a team, whenever I'm working as a team, what are the things that as a team we should do? Like 4%, 5%, or maximum 78%, whatever team is there, what exactly we are doing as a team, right? So as a team we should set some ground level of rules. So being formal or being informal, but set the formal rules. Why? Because whenever you set this type of rule, all the teams has to follow that rule, and that will build a very good team bonding. So these rules are always required, and these rules are applicable to all. The process we kind of actually building some kind of process which help us to work virtually. Okay, then we create some kind of formal groups. Formal groups are all the team members, from the stake owner to the team members, lower level of team members, everyone are there. And in that formal group, we should discuss everything, like I said. And we can have one informal group too. What is the importance of having informal group? Whenever you are in the office, you are sitting with your team, and you are having 5 to 7 members around you. You are talking with them informal way in your local language sometimes, and those actually giving you a togetherness within your team. You feel not like you are working as an formal way. You're working in informal way. You are working with your friends, not your colleagues. So that environment is missing when you're working offline, or we can say virtually. So just create an informal group where you can type anything to your team. Like you can talk the same way that you are talking with him in front of you, right? So that kind of groups are very important. So create formal and informal group, and just make sure that whatever you are typing in informal group should not be there in formal group. So just you have to differentiate these two things. Meet up regularly, because as a team, whenever you are meeting daily or whenever it is required, you are getting you know uh, uh, informed that whatever the team means your team members are doing, and you will come to know that the team is means the flow is going in the right direction. Then we have to, as a team, we have to celebrate the small moments, like virtual team outing. How we can celebrate this virtual team outing where we are not getting meet to anyone. So like you have your camera, you have your laptop available. Just celebrate, like you come up with your own food, you sit together online on switch on your video camera, and enjoy the food with all the team members. Talk to them, celebrate the things like this way, because over here you are not able to do your team outing. So you can celebrate the things together. So it will it will give us the understand. It will give us the bonding within the team. Like your team is now getting means the same thing that you are doing at the office, the same thing we are doing offline on virtual meetings. So this is also important to celebrate the small moments.
Right.
Then,
Uh,
yeah.
Yeah, Saurabh, I think you have covered a very, vast portion of the topic, and
Yeah. So
yeah.
these are the,
So,
yeah, just to sum up that,
yeah,
these are
sure.
the always, these are the things that we can we have to take care while we are working individually or as an employee or as a team. So this will help us to minimize the virtual conflicts.
Yeah.
Thanks, Shweta.
Definitely. Thanks, Saurabh. So, but as just a, in a summary, I can sum up like how management should be vigilant in broadcasting the information to the employees, to everyone who is working remotely. There should be a ground rules, yes, as said, and mentioned by Saurabh. So there should be policies, procedures, and of course, as a manager, I should be able to, keep the morale of my team members, at the most, and should always be available for, any kind of situations. And of course, point noted about the conflict. You have to be verbal. You have to share, and as soon as it arrives, and don't assume, because that's I will come to the next set of questions, and it will have that part being covered. But thank you, Saurabh, and now we'll move on to the next set of questions. Uh, Generally, what happens is, remote communication channels such as emails and texting are impersonal by nature, which actually wipe out like 93% of the signals used in face-to-face communication, right? Uh, Sometimes the anonymity provided can lead to more critical or aggressive communication. Right? So, Amol, I would just like you to, throw insight on about your opinion. If you agree that lack of impersonal communication causes or escalates the conflict. But before you answer, Amol, I think you missed our introduction. So quickly, if you can, give your introduction and help me, with your answer.
Sure. So thank you for having me on the panel. My name is Amol Londhe, and I work as a principal architect with Helios Solutions. I have around 15 years of experience in various domains and on various continents. I primarily work in architecture and architecture review boards and how technology can help us transform. So, been practicing Agile for a long time now, since its infancy. And to answer your question, Shweta, I totally agree that the cues that we receive when we are doing a personal communication, it really adds the value, because by nature we are social, right? We communication being a two-way street, it's very important to continuously receive the feedback of the points that we are putting through into the discussion, right? So with remote being forced upon to us in last year or so, there have been multiple challenges on how we could implement this, right? So for past year, yeah, almost a year now, since March, we have been trying to cope up with this challenges, and I'm sure that it is not entirely possible to remove the conflicts that may arise due to not having the personal touch to the conversation, but there are a few good ways that we can mitigate them. To a lot of us have this belief that the conversation is face to face, it adds more value. I was reading through one of the McKinsey surveys in, I think, month of November, December. You wouldn't believe 53% of IT people out of the 4 communication channels prefer the communication to be formal over an email. So uh, that being said, it could have a different relationship as to why somebody would receive the feedback in a delayed fashion rather than instantaneously. And in a formal setting, it does make sense. So these are some of the points which would allow us to mitigate the conflict, right? So Saurav has brought some valid points. I think it would definitely add a value to have a policy in place. It would definitely help us do the channelizing the communication tools, or having the information flow through single source of truth. That would do a lot of things. But I think most important thing on every level of the organization, be it a leadership, be it a middle management, or be it the people who work in the teams, is acknowledging the fact that we have moved into a new era, and there is going to be a challenge, right? So there is never 100% solution to anything we do. It's just a series of experiments that allow us to better ourselves. uh, Professional, personal, interpersonal, impersonal, all communications, I feel there needs to be acknowledgement to a word called empathy. Because you see, communication in whatever form, if you are receiving the feedback, so let's take an example. You are in office, right? Somebody is working on something, you knock onto the desk and you say, hey, I have a question. It may not necessarily always receive a positive feedback. The person could still be busy and get annoyed when we reach out to their desk and try to talk to them directly. So any form of communication in whichever mode, I strongly feel that empathizing on all levels, be it the communication policies, be it the formal interaction, informal interactions, that is something we should definitely stress on all levels. Another very important point is that to reduce these conflicts, it is very important to have a communication policy that is designed from bottom up, not the other way around. Understanding the individual needs, the culture, the team culture, the dynamics, all of this should actually reflect when the policy document is being built. So it should be more inclusive, so that would allow or rather give a comfort to everyone who is involved in this in the team or making decisions. It would allow them to have a say as to what my way of working is, right? Because even if we say team or a community, it's a set of group of people who have come towards achieving a goal. So I think that would be a very important step forward to have individual say. uh, for Fortunately, unfortunately for me, we started designing a product right before all the COVID restrictions came in, and uh, a 10 people's team had to go remote. Yesterday we are working together, and today everybody is remote. So we had our fun times over past 1 year, including conflicts and everything. But uh, what I feel is there are a couple of things that we can avoid to build trust on all the organization levels. One being, I think over communication should be avoided at all cost. Lot many times we feel, or rather, people have a fixed schedule to work through and may not always welcome people peeping and knocking on your door. Second thing, more freedom and responsibility, right? So ownership is okay, that hey, you own this task, but at the same time there needs to be freedom and mutual trust with anybody who is working in the team, that we do not start from the point where we say, hey, he will not do it, or he will not be able to do it, and I start micromanaging. So start with 100% trust on your team, that whoever is joined you has the capability to work irrespective of what environment it is, a direct environment, or it's a hybrid environment, or it's completely remote environment. So some of this experiment, one of the experiment, and I very strong believer of this, is I think meetings should be optional to everyone. I'm not able to do it 100% yet, but in next 6 months I think I'll achieve that. I don't feel that I need to direct anyone to be part of something where they don't feel that they are adding value to it. So I think these are few things that would actually build a lot of trust within the teams on organizational level, and it will help us cope up with. We wouldn't be able to remove the conflicts altogether, but it will help us cope up, communicate, reach out, and take true advantage of having this remote environment, because I'm personally very big fan of it, and I'm been enjoying truly for past 1 year, and I can see your smile, so I'm sure you do too. But I think this are to sum it up. I think the most important operating word being empathy, I feel, which should take care of a lot of these pain points that we face in the remote environments. So that's it from me, Shweta.
Thanks, Amol.
Over to you.
Okay. Thank you so much, Amol. I certainly agree with the fact that empathy is something which acts as a key in operating the cordial environment when we are in virtual setup. Of course, even Saurabh has mentioned about this, and again I want to reiterate that communication policy is very important. Every organization have it, but somehow it gets piled up. And when we have project specific communication channel, we have one business oriented communication channel, one team oriented. So somehow the need of that, what you can say, RESI metrics, or what all things we do, to manage the clients, to manage the teams, to manage, the communication within the internal groups. We miss to empathize, any individual, and people sitting at remote, and working towards a common goal somehow feels being, ignored or neglected, or many of the time offended. They don't know, because we tend to, form our own perception. When we want to communicate something, we always have, a tangent, like, which always increases. So I just, I was just reading an article where it is written, if you send a message or information to someone, you always seek the reply within a fraction of like 8 seconds. If that tick is not there or scene is not there, then you start building up your own, castle of uncertainty. So moving to my third question, I think it involves a lot of uncertainty, because the teams who are working remotely will have a higher level of uncertainty, like concern about co-workers talking behind their back, or be it perception that changes are affecting your work without warning, or advocating for priorities, and so on. So the list of insecurities are backed up by uncertainty. Sandeep, I would like you to, have your insights about your opinion on what kind of damages can be caused by these insecurities and uncertainties.
Thanks, Sweta. That's a very good question. And it has two heavy words in that: insecurities and uncertainties. And let's say if we have that in our workplace, then I would say we all might be agreeing that, okay, it is a kind of unsafe environment to work in, because it does not have anything which I can predict it, right? So yes, if we are in that environment, there are going to be disadvantages, and I'll come to those in details. Let me take a step back here and just think for a moment. Let's say if we program 10 machines and put in a room to work for 6 months, do we think they'll have conflict? Possibly no, unless there is a hardware failure or some external factor. But conflicts are bound to happen when we work with human, because they come with the certain things which are not with machines. We have feelings, we have our perceptions, we have our belief system, we may come from the different culture. So all this tied up, and then we build our opinion for some things, and then sometimes it creates a conflict. There is an article from a professor and from South Carolina University, and then when she studied the couple of Fortune 500 companies, she found that all the conflicts which happen in the workplace are mostly in two categories. There can be many, but majority of it are in two categories. One is the one which Amol talked about. It can be related to your communication, your personality related, which can fall into the relationship conflict, right? And when we go there, we just stop talking. I hate that person. I'm not going to talk to him or her. Second is the task-based conflict, which Saurabh touched on. The way, the process you assign your work, or the process you choose who will do the work, that can cause the conflict. Let's take a small example here within this group, if we don't mind. So let's say Amol and I are working in a team. We both have experience, and Saurabh is again an experienced guy joining us as a new member. And Amol and I kind of pair up, and we have a good rapport with our manager. So we say that, okay, Saurabh is a new guy. Give him some difficult task for at least 1 to 2 months, and then we enjoy being on the simple task. Being a new guy, Saurabh may enjoy for one month or two, right? But then he will feel, okay, there is something fishy here. Why I'm the culprit all the time? Why I have to spend my weekends on the task every time? So he may build that perception, and if he's still in that phase, then he will lose the control, and he will lose the enthusiasm as well. So coming to the disadvantage and damages, just imagine Saurabh's situation. He may be demotivated. He will not be kind of proactive next time. He'll just stay quiet, do his work, and go home. It may kill his creativity as well, because if he is bound to have those strong perception, if it is not resolved, then yeah, he'll not be interested in trying something new. He may be falling into the schedule, okay, machine time of work, 9 to 6 job and done, no creativity done. And the third thing may come is the productivity. In a longer run, he will not focus on, okay, what I can do more to improve myself, my product, my company, and etc. So these all can damage as an individual, maybe Saurabh and the colleagues, which are we, our team, our product, ultimately our company. So there are a lot of disadvantages if we don't resolve the conflict. But we have to see the picture on the both sides. It is not always that conflict falls into the disadvantage. Let's think about a task conflict. Let's say that we are in a room, we are discussing on a, let's say, one feature work, and I and Amol may have a different opinion for something. It is kind of conflict because we have different opinion, right? But it comes up with a new idea as well. It is not necessary that we have to agree all the time. It is okay to disagree, but there should be a way to communicate that and handle that. If there is a way, then conflicts are good as well, because that creates more ideas and easy solution as well sometimes. So we have to be open with that if it is in the moderated environment, a proper environment, there are advantages as well. But if it is ignored, unresolved, then it can happen what we thought Saurabh could face in the new situation, right? So it can have a disadvantage as well. And then if we go beyond that, okay, what else we should do, right? I think Saurabh has done covered all the part. But in that case, we have to take care of things that we have to have proper process in place, as Saurabh told. So unless we define the ground rules and we just rely on our moods, it is not going to work. We have to have a proper process in the place. And if we have everything together, then yes, it is going to work for us. So there are advantages, there are disadvantages, but it has to be resolved. If we talk about the traditional environment, yes, we had an advantage there. I'm saying had because we don't have right now, maybe next couple of months as well. but we were able to talk to each other face to face. If I have a problem, I was able to talk to someone and say, okay, hey, I'm not in an agreement. Can we talk for a time? In virtual environment, we may sometimes be lazy and say, okay, let us ignore for today and we'll think about tomorrow. So this is also an important aspect. When we are virtual, we need to make sure that if there is a conflict, yes, we need to resolve it. But take your time. If you are not in a mood to resolve it, if you're angry, don't go for it. Take a break, but then prepare your data and then go to the communication, go to the conversation and try to resolve it. Because a lot of time it just take one discussion to resolve the conflict. If you don't talk, yeah, it can create the negative perception and it builds upon quickly. And if I have negative perspective of someone, maybe I will talk to someone and pull in that ears as well. So it spreads, negativity spreads fast. So we need to stop it. So yeah, I would say, yeah, we have to moderate it, and then we have to make sure that we are vigilant about it as well. So we can avoid the disadvantage and take a advantage of advantages which conflict brings in. Yeah. Thanks, Shweta.
Right, Sandeep, well said. So yes, of course, informal communication is very important to resolve these kind of disputes. Get into a room. This time, virtual room. Get into a virtual room. Call somebody who can, who's a neutral party, a moderator, who just opens up. It's act like an icebreaker, and both people, be it management, employee, or anyone, whosoever is facing the conflict, can brainstorm or break, whatever it is. But then, yes, we have to be verbal. We should not sit with any of the problem. So that's where we always, feel to have a proper policy, proper procedure, a process at place wherein people follow it. At the same time, enjoy doing it. So, being virtual, being remote, it should not be something like, oh my God, we cannot meet our friends, we cannot go on a smoke break or coffee break and can chit chat, or maybe get to know some insights of what is happening in the management, what all things are being done. uh, uh, so yeah, of course, the damages, as was the question, of course, at the end it will just break your patience, and then you jump into some conclusions. So better getting into that zone, just clear up your conflict and resolve it as soon as possible. I think our we have some question answers in the group. Shreya, can we start picking up the questions, because I see we have just 10 minutes left to end the session.
Yes, Shweta, sure. We can
Yeah.
start taking the question
Yeah.
from the Q&A box.
Okay. So I see the first question put by Rohit. Thanks, Rohit, for your question. What is the ideal ideation time suggested when it comes to product development? Anyone from the team like to answer, or shall I? I think Amol,
Right.
because yeah.
It's a kind of a favorite topic. So a good thumb rule is to
Yeah.
From market research ideation, I think 3 to 4 months by first MVP out should be a good overall time frame if you are coming with a niche idea into the market. But I feel that is the overall time frame you should keep, and not necessarily bind the milestones with a fixed amount, X, Y, whatever. So products over time evolve, and they require continuous improvements, strategy changes, marketing changes, sales changes. Something that works now may not work. Something that you thought when you came up with the idea may not be valid in 3 months. So uh, uh, as a thumb rule, I'll keep it short, 3 to 4 months from your thoughts to first beta into the market. Thank you.
Thanks, Amol. I hope Rohit, this answer is being replied. Just from my side, being a product owner, I just wanted to mention: go with your gut feeling. Ensure that you have all the viability validated. Do your commercial viability even before, when you have your MVP at place. Do a proper market research, and then that's all. We'll cover the 3 to 4 months as more or less mentioned. Next question from Rohit again. How do you manage the burnout issues, which has been one of the major complaints raised because of the new normal? By new normal, you mean coming back to office, the physical? Okay. Uh, Sandeep, can you?
I can take it. Yeah.
You can take it. Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, it can impact because when we are in office, we used to go office. We used to have a time when we shut down everything. When we are at home, we are at home. I mean, every day feels like, I mean, we are in office. Our system remains up. So we have to mindful about that. You have to have that switch on and off. That okay, this is my time. I'm done. I'm going to do something else. Just walking is not an excuse for not doing anything else. You have to put investment on your health, your family, your hobbies, your professional improvement. So everything takes a time, so you have to plan for it. If you work for 12 14 hours, yeah, you might be happy for one day, but you are missing out something else. So switch on that, switch off that at your time, and then and don't overdo something. It is not going to work for longer. It may happen for a week or two if needed. You have to do, but don't make it a habit. So I would say, yeah, burnout is created by us. So we have to be mindful that, okay, what is my threshold, where I should end, and where I should change my activity or event, and where I should spend my time, where I feel happy about it. So yeah, I hope that answers that question.
Thanks, Sandeep. The next question is from Rakesh Chandigoya. So, remote working has always been there with distributed team. Then why so much talk about virtual working during 2020? Discipline and scheduled communication has been helping, and respect needed to individuals' personal time. Yes, we do agree that distributed teams have been working for years now in the industry. The reason for having this kind of discussion even arise because we don't have, it's like 100% from the physical setup. So, which is why we have this discussion happening. And yes, of course, as you have mentioned, that discipline and schedule communication is the key. And it's always important that we empathize or respect the individual's personal time. So that actually answered, I believe, Rakesh. Next question is from Viswas, P. Viswas. Remote work culture has also added a lot of micromanagement from the seniors in the organization. How can an employee can deal with it? And as a manager, are there any signs I can see myself if I am micromanaging? Okay. Saurabh, would you like to take up this?
Yeah, thanks, Shweta. So, like I explained in my, the question, my first question, what I should do as an individual, being part of the team, like as I'm a manager, as I'm an individual, as a means programmer, or I can say as a developer, I'm from the development team, or I'm in a team. So as a team, what I should do. So like the question is how do we handle with the micromanagement or this kind of questions, right? So we as a manager, I must see what I was seeing in the in my means what I was seeing in the when we are in the company, like when we are together in the on the work site. So I just need to check the productivity is not getting hampered while we are working remotely. I don't need to come to any individual to ask, and I need to ask that, what exactly you are doing. I need to keep trust on them. If it is not being there as an individual, I should say, first time, second time, I will answer to him. At third time, when I see that this is happening frequently and someone is not actually keeping trust in me, he's doing micromanagement, he's taking a minute to minute means the work done, and is tracking me minute to minute. So I should answer that, you have our system, you have our tracking tools, you can see that we have our sprint board, whatever I'm doing is already mentioned over there. if you have any kind of little bit kind of confusion, or you have any hesitation that I'm not getting this understand properly, then we can discuss. Otherwise, it is going smoothly. Just keep faith in me. So these are the things that we should, we should we should take care. Like, these are the things that you have to say as an individual. Don't keep the questions on your head all the time. You need to start answering them. I hope this answers.
Thanks, Saurabh. Uh, Next question from Krishna Kishore. Would be great to learn about the journey from project manager to project owner. Sandeep, would you like to take this?
Yeah, I mean, so these two are different mindsets, as somebody told in the previous session as well. So project manager has a different mindset. He is the person who is given a goal. I'm a project manager, I can say that. And then he runs the train in that direction. He tries to make sure that, okay, all the coaches in my train are on the track. So that's a mindset for the project management. It is again the data-driven, I would say, title, that you have to manage the data. If you're working with the remote team, there can be 10, 15 teams across the globe. So you have to make sure that, okay, you have a tools and techniques to make sure that you have enough data to timeline your project and make sure that you're on track. On other side, product manager, right? So I would say that's a different skill set because it requires ideation. It requires a new, I think Shweta will agree with that. It requires a lot of suggestions, ideas, and the future thinking, right? You don't have a immediate goal, but you have to build your product for the next 5 or 10 years. So you have to have that vision as well. So it is not impossible to go from this journey to that journey, but you have to make sure that those critical skills you acquire or you try to learn. If you have by default, then you are up to that point.
Right. Thanks, Sandeep. I think our time is up for this discussion. Once again, I thank you all for being a part of it. Shreya, I think this was a wonderful, discussion organized by Agile Network India, and I think on behalf of everyone, I would like to thank you all. Hope to see such kind of discussion very often, and just thank you, audience, for being a part of it. We enjoyed it. I hope you as well. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Shweta, for facilitating it. And
Thank you.
so much to all the panelists for a wonderful session.